from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Good evening and welcome to the National News broadcast, bringing to you live from the National News Studios here at the ChannelEye Rupavahini Corporation. We are ready to bring you the top stories here at home and around the world. I am Charita Miniprarachi. Joining with me today is Dulanjali Anand. The President invites all stakeholders for an all-party process. The second session of the 9th Parliament prorogued. The new session will be held on the 3rd of August. Steps have been taken to further strengthen relations between Sri Lanka and the UK. The government says discussions between the International Monetary Fund and government have achieved a high progress. Another two organizations leave goal phase struggle. August school vacation cancelled. A decision has been taken to conduct schools from this Monday to the end of November. Sri Lanka introduced its first homegrown electric car. The US economy faces setbacks.
Now for those and other stories in detail. The President invites all stakeholders. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that the government is making an immense effort to overcome political and social anarchy that occurred in the country with the economic crisis. The President said that preliminary steps are being taken to create economic stability and initial plans are being prepared for streamlined economic reform program. The President has said that he believes a program with the participation of all political parties in Parliament, intellectual groups, civil society organizations and other stakeholders should be implemented to successfully overcome the challenges. He has pointed out it is also the wish of the people. He has said solutions should be found to the economic and social crisis through a common program, which is a responsibility of them and the government. Accordingly, it is expected to build a strong dialogue on the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, introducing parliamentary oversight committees and other steps to perform this national duty. He has requested them to send their agreement in this regard.
The President has prorogued the second session of the 9th Parliament. President Secretary Saman Ekanaik has issued the relevant gazette notification with effect from yesterday. The Parliament has been prorogued according to the powers vested with the President by the 70th article of the Constitution. The Gazette states that the third session of the 9th Parliament should meet at 10:30 am on the 3rd of August. Executive Presidents have prorogued Parliament earlier on several occasions. Former President J.R. Jayawardena has prorogued Parliament on 7 occasions. Former President Ranasinghe Premadasa prorogued Parliament on 4 occasions and former President D.B. Wijetunga on 1 occasion. Former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumartunga prorogued Parliament on 5 occasions and former President Mahinda Rajapaksa on 3 occasions. Former President Maithripala Sirisena prorogued Parliament on 3 occasions, while former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa prorogued Parliament on 2 occasions during his term. When the Parliament is prorogued, several committees including the COPE and COPA get abolished and new members and chairmen should be appointed during the new session.
Now, a meeting between President Ranil Wickremesinghe and British High Commissioner in Sri Lanka, Sarah Holton, took place yesterday at the Presidential Secretariat. Mrs. Holton extended greetings to the President and engaged in extensive discussions on several issues. President Ranil Wickremesinghe briefed the High Commissioner on the steps taken by the government for economic revival and political stability. Discussions took place on several issues, including Sri Lanka's accountability on UN human rights and taking measures according to the human rights. President Wickremesinghe said that his hope is to further strengthen relations between the two countries. The High Commissioner assured her full support in that regard.
The President's media division says that the talks between Sri Lankan government and the IMF has achieved a high progress. Therefore, the government believes that necessary steps can be taken for the financial stability in the country by successfully implementing those discussions. The government is holding discussions with the IMF of getting the IMF support to establish a better economic policy by controlling the prevailing economic difficulties. A proper plan on debt sustainability should be presented to achieve the progress, but it was disrupted due to the political instability in the past and the previous government's policy of not working with the International Monetary Fund. When the appointment of Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe as the President, a political stable government has been established. The President's media division said that the political discussions for an all-party government system are also at successful levels.
Issuing a statement on Sri Lanka, the World Bank Group says it is deeply concerned about the dire economic situation and its impact on the people of Sri Lanka. The World Bank said it is repurposing resources under existing loans in its portfolio to alleviate surge shortages of essential items. The bank said to date about $160 million of these funds has been disbursed to meet urgent needs. In addition, other ongoing projects continue to support basic services, delivery of medicine and medical supplies, school meals and tuition waivers. It has said that they are working closely with implementing agencies to establish robust controls and oversight to ensure the resources reach the poorest and the most vulnerable. The World Bank emphasized that until an adequate macroeconomic policy framework is in place, the bank does not plan to offer new financing to Sri Lanka. It said this requires deep structural reforms that focus on economic stabilization, addressing the root structural causes that create the crisis to ensure that Sri Lanka's future recovery and development are resilient and inclusive.
And meanwhile, China has defended its infrastructure ventures and investments in Sri Lanka and said that they have boosted its economic development. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Xiao Linjun made these comments while he was responding criticism over the US Beijing's unproductive projects and opaque loans dealing among the reasons of the Sri Lankan economic crisis.
Speaking in New Delhi on Wednesday, the US Aid Administrator Samantha Power said India reacted really swiftly with an absolutely critical set of measures to help Sri Lanka tide over its economic crisis, but calls to China to provide significant relief have gone unanswered.
Since the crisis intensified in May, the United States has provided nearly $32 million of development and humanitarian assistance for Sri Lanka to support basic food security, address the immediate needs of communities impacted by the crisis, support a safety net program in the country's schools, equip some 30,000 farmers with seeds and fertilizer, and provide nutritious food to both new and expectant mothers. This brings our total emergency response to Sri Lanka's challenges this year to almost $180 million. And that's in addition to our $30 to $40 million annual development portfolio to assist the country and the people more broadly so that these kinds of shocks don't keep happening. And India has reacted really swiftly with an absolutely critical set of measures. The government of India has already supplied $16 million in humanitarian aid to Sri Lanka. It has exported 100,000 tons of organic fertilizer to try to help farmers stave off future food shortages. And it has supplied $3.5 billion in lines of credits to the government of Sri Lanka as it attempts to steer its economy out of default and further collapse. Contrast this with the People's Republic of China, which has been an increasingly eager creditor of Sri Lankan governments since the mid-2000s. Indeed, over the past 2 decades, China became one of Sri Lanka's biggest creditors, offering often opaque loan deals at higher interest rates than other lenders, and financing a raft of headline-grabbing infrastructure projects with often questionable practical use for Sri Lankans, including a massive port that generated little income and was barely used by ships. An equally massive airport, dubbed the emptiest in the world because it attracted so few passengers. And the country's tallest tower that was built as a tourist attraction, yet has never, unfortunately, opened to the public. Now that economic conditions have soured, Beijing has promised lines of credit and emergency loans. This is critical, since Beijing is estimated to hold at least 15% of Sri Lanka's foreign debt. But calls to provide more significant relief have so far gone unanswered. And the biggest question of all is whether Beijing will restructure debt to the same extent as other bilateral creditors.
Responding to a question on the criticism of China's projects and policies towards Sri Lanka by Samantha Power, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Xiao Lijian said that China-Sri Lanka practical cooperation has always been led by Sri Lanka with scientific planning and through verification with no strings attached.
According to reports, Samantha Power, administrator of U.S. aid, said on the 27th that China has provided Sri Lanka with opaque loan deals at higher interest rates than other lenders and financed infrastructure projects that often serve little practical use over the past 20 years. China should participate in debt relief transparently and on equitable terms with all other creditors. What is China's comment?
一直以来，
China-Sri Lanka practical cooperation has always been led by Sri Lanka with scientific planning and thorough verification, with no strings attached. It has boosted Sri Lanka's economic development and brought tangible benefits to the Sri Lankan people. There are multiple components of Sri Lanka's foreign debt, where China-related debts take far less share than that of international capital market and multilateral development banks. Besides, what China provides for Sri Lanka are mostly preferential loans with low interest rates and long terms, which have played a positive part in improving Sri Lanka's infrastructure and livelihood. Shortly after the Sri Lankan government announced to suspend international debt payments, Chinese financial institutions reached out to the Sri Lankan side and expressed their readiness to find a proper way to handle the mature debts related to China and help Sri Lanka to overcome the current difficulties. I want to stress that the global economic and financial markets have taken a heavy toll as the U.S.'s recent sudden interest rate hike and balance sheet reduction has siphoned off dollars more rapidly, a reverse from the long-running quantitative easing policy and irresponsible massive stimulus. The U.S.'s wayward unilateral sanctions and tariff barriers have undermined the security of global sanctions and industrial chains and worsened the price surge of energy, food, and other bulk commodities. This has further aggravated the economic and financial situation of developing countries, including Sri Lanka. The U.S. and other Western capital has speculated in the Sri Lankan market, manipulated the credit rating of the country, and gravely suppressed the credibility and channel of the country to seek financing. The U.S. should ask itself the following questions. What has it done for developing countries' sustainable development? How much harm has its unilateral economic, financial, and foreign policies done to other countries in the world? We hope the U.S. can genuinely help Sri Lanka overcome the current difficulties, ease the debt burden, and realize sustainable development, instead of unscrupulously using every opportunity possible to shift the blame, smear other countries, and seek geopolitical gains.
Minister Kanchana Wijayasekara says that by 3:30 p.m. today, the National Fuel Pass has been successfully experimented at 931 filling stations in the country. The minister said 4.6 million vehicles have been registered so far.
Issuing of fuel according to the National Fuel Pass took place at selected filling stations in the country today. Apart from the National Fuel Pass system, fuel was issued at all filling stations today according to the last number of the number plate. Tourist identity card with a QR code has been introduced for drivers engaged in the tourism industry in the Uva province yesterday with the assistance of the Ministry of Tourism and Andhra Pradesh Sabha. Registering of three-wheelers took place today as well. The tense situation occurred when fuel was received by Galanpiduru filling station yesterday. Tension occurred when police officers tried to distribute to staff employees and the public. Badula police have arrested a fuel person who was transporting 60 litres of diesel in a three-wheeler. It has been found that the suspect has purchased diesel from Badula SLTB depot to sell at a higher price. Depot manager of particular SLTB has been arrested for getting a bribe to provide fuel for private buses. The Transport Ministry says that 800 buses of the SLTB which were repaired will be added to the fleet from the 1st of August. Minister Bandula Gunawardena has instructed officials to cancel the route permits of the private buses which are engaged in selling diesel after obtaining fuel from the SLTB. The time given to obtain revenue license in the Western Province has been extended up to the 31st of August due to the transport difficulties. And meanwhile, the social media activist Pathum Kurune has been remanded until the 4th of August by the Colombo Additional Magistrate Harshana Kakunabal.
He was arrested yesterday by the Colombo Crimes Division. He has been arrested on suspicion in connection with the protests recently at Battaramulla Polduva Junction. He has been arrested when he visited Colombo Crimes Division yesterday for an investigation connected to the incident. 2 police teams have inspected Frontline Socialist Party office at Nugegoda to search for warranted persons. Police teams arrived at the office and inspected the place on 2 occasions this morning. The party said that they have come in search of convener of the Inter-University Students' Federation, Vasanta Mudalige. Meanwhile, the persons who stole official flag of the former president and used it as a bedsheet has surrendered to Dam Street Police in Colombo. Police said that flag has been stolen after the Presidential Secretariat has taken over amidst the people's protest on 9th July.
Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa has requested the government to suspend Parate law affecting small and medium-scale entrepreneurs. The opposition leader mentioned this to media after a discussion with a group of small and medium-scale entrepreneurs yesterday. Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa said that small and medium-scale industrialists have become destitute at present. 4.5 million are employed in this sector. It contributes 50% of the gross domestic products and they have become destitute due to the economic contraction at present. The small and medium-scale school is trapped at they are not earning any income when the law is implemented. And meanwhile, the South Indian actor and director Kamal Hassan has expressed his interest in supporting Sri Lanka through his welfare association.
He has expressed his intention during a discussion with Deputy High Commissioner of Sri Lanka in Chennai, Dr. D. Venkateswaran. On an invitation extended by Dr. Venkateswaran, Kamal Hassan visited the Sri Lanka Deputy High Commissioner in Chennai for the first time on Sunday. During the visit, he held a discussion with Deputy High Commissioner where they discussed on the cinema industry among several other matters. The Deputy High Commissioner also requested Kamal Hassan to visit Sri Lanka along with members of the film fraternity, which would boost the tourism sector in the country. The Ministry of Education says that August school holidays will not be given this year.
Accordingly, Minister Susil Premajant has instructed the officials to plan the best educational activities by conducting schools without holidays from Monday to the end of November. The minister mentioned this while addressing a ceremony to hand over 155 Grade 3 principal appointments recently. The Education Ministry said that it has been decided to conduct Grade 5 scholarship examination on 27 November. Plans have been made to conduct GCE level examination from November 28 to December 23rd. Plans have been made to conduct training sessions by the universities on 24 subjects for students who are sitting GCE level examination. It has been implemented targeting the students who have missed educational activities due to the corona pandemic and the precedent crisis. It is the responsibility of teachers to prepare students with additional teaching in classrooms from the first week of September. A scientific methodology is expected to be used to identify learning levels of students who are entering Grade 3 but who have lost education in Grade 1 and 2. Minister Susil Premajant said that apart from Sisu Survey, another service called Parcel Survey deploying private buses will be launched by Monday for the school students. The cup planting ceremony of the 4 Devanas of the annual Asala Perahara of Sri Dalada Maligav in Kandy took place this morning.
The internal procession of the 4 Devala will be held until the 1st of next month. After bringing cup to Kandy Vishnu Devala yesterday, it was distributed among 4 Devala. Cup planting at Natha, Vishnu, Katragama and Pathini Devala took place at an auspicious time according to traditional rituals and religious practices. The first Kumbal Perahara of the Asala festival will commence on the 2nd of August and it will conclude on the 6th of August. The Randoli procession will commence on the 7th of August and the final Randoli procession will parade the streets on the 11th of August. Devarani Nilame of Sri Dalada Maligawa, Pradeep Nilangadala and Basnayaka Nilames of 4 Devala were present at the cup planting ceremony.
today is the 112th day of the struggle at the goal-faced green. Many activities were conducted at the place today as well. All protesters are staying away 50 meters from the statue in former Prime Minister SWRD Bandaranaike at the goal-faced green. The 4 Buddhist monks who were at the place who have also left the area. A group was rent and a goal-face is still staying there. A protest took place this noon at goal-face demanding to stop arresting protesters and suppression. Meanwhile, Director General of President's Media Division Dhanushka Ramanayaka and President's Media Director Shanuka Karunaratne, who arrived at the goal-face and engaged in a discussion with the protesters. The Black Caps organization, which left the goal-face protest, held a media briefing today. Liberal Brotherhood's organization has informed that they have left goal-face protest and other protest. Issuing a statement, they also have said that the struggle will end only after implementing social, economic and political reforms implemented as mentioned in the proposal beyond goal-face green. The Liberal Brotherhood organization has said that the aims of the struggle have been blurred with several groups and persons using to propagate their political ideologies. A document was handed over to the UN office in Colombo requesting for an international intervention in connection with resolving the struggle and suppression of protesters by an organization called Citizens of the Public Struggle. Meanwhile, the non-party protesters organization has issued a media statement under the theme "Protect the Struggle and the Protesters." Court giving of dates by Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca for the struggle is only an extension of government's conspiracies. It is clearly endangering the protesters. Therefore, we request that citizens watch about your ruler until the public struggle is reactivated through victorious plans and a people-friendly entrance without personal characters, and not to damage the confidence in the struggle by getting caught to the fake encouragements. End of quote.
Political party representatives expressed their views during media briefings in Colombo today about the present situation in the country and the arresting of persons. MP Vijita Herat said that the government should stop arresting youth who are fighting for justice. There is a conflict between the people and the government. All people are suffering in few queues. The government is clashing with them. The rights of the people cannot be suppressed. Solutions to economic crisis cannot be found when the political crisis gets longer. People's problems should be solved to overcome the economic crisis. MP Mujibur Rahman said that a large number of people and civil activists who led the fight on behalf of the rights of the people have been arrested. The government is trying to suppress the rising of people by those actions. The government is dragging the country down to precipice by those actions.
ඒ අර්ථයෙන්ද මේක කරන්නේ. ඒතකොට අපිට පේනවා ඒ අර්ථයෙන් ආණ්ඩුව මේක කරන්න උත්සාහ කරනවා නම් මම විශ්වාස කරනවා මේ රට විශාල අගාධයකට මේ ආණ්ඩුව ඇදගෙන යනවායි කියන එක තමයි මට තියෙන පේන්න තියෙන දේ. මේ අපරාධ MP
Professor Ranjit Bandara said that it is only under the criminal law that a person can be arrested. The government listens to criticisms, protests, expressions. A group of persons said to be protesters stormed the national television recently and influenced the staff. The revenue methods were blocked and the government property was damaged. When the groups connected to the crisis are arrested, the government is accused of using freedom of expression in a wrong manner. The arrests are made according to criminal law.
Sri Lanka's first homegrown fully electric car was unveiled by Ideal Motors at the Joy Hilton recently. The Ideal Moksha is yet to be a game changer for the Sri Lankan market and the most practical solution in the current technology transmission phase towards a sustainable carbon neutral future. Classified as a four-wheeled electric quadricycle, the Ideal Moksha is the fifth and a 22.46 kilowatt lithium battery that provides a range up to 200 kilometers on a single charge by plugging into a 50 ampere domestic charger overnight. The interior of that car has a spacious cabin offering comfortable seating to the driver and 3 passengers. The car is offered in matching two-tone exterior colors. The customer can access information, music and maps using the 7-inch multimedia touchscreen display that comes with the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility.
So today is a milestone in our journey at Ideal Group. And it's a dream come true for me because I always wanted to manufacture a Sri Lankan car for the masses. We wanted to complete the car within 1 year, but obviously because of the country situation, the COVID hit and things got delayed, but the mission was accomplished. So if you take the Sri Lankan car park or the car population, we have 8.1 million registered vehicles at the RAP, 81 lakhs. So out of these 81 lakhs, we have 47 lakhs of two-wheelers and we have 12 lakhs of three-wheelers. So this together constitutes 5.9 million vehicles out of a car park of 8.1. I thought to myself, if we are looking at a mass market, we should look at A motorcycle, B, an upgrade to the three-wheeler.
Now, the Board of Investment has introduced the Partnership Finder, which is a new strategic initiative to attract investments from existing investors in the country. It is also a facilitate business partnership with foreign and Sri Lankan companies and investors. This interactive platform provides the BOI registered investors and prospective investors with a window opportunity to get connected with new entrepreneurs and innovators.
Today is a special day for the BOI because we launched the Partnership Finder, which will be a platform for investors who are already in existence with us, as well as for new investors to collaborate and find networks to either infuse new capital into existing companies or to form joint ventures and go in for expansions or even brand new projects. What we believe we need to do is create more networks between our businesses and even startups and innovators so that their ideas can be used and new projects can come up utilizing those valuable thoughts. So this platform we believe will be very successful, particularly in this day and age when travel is not so much possible due to the pandemic situations and other global economic downturns. So this platform will be an independent one where each of the partners can reach out and see what fits them best, and the BOI will be there to facilitate them once they get together to see how their projects can take off and how they can sign agreements with us and how we can facilitate their investments in this country.
Actually, we really needed such a platform. As an investor, we need to look for more business areas to explore, and I'm sure this will be a successful starting point for our future business.
Now, Olivia Fisheries Harbour was vested with the public today under the patronage of Minister Douglas Devananda. Constructions of the Olivia Fisheries Harbour commenced when former leader of Muslim Congress MHA M. Ashraf was the Minister of Naval Affairs. Constructions had been temporarily suspended and they were recommenced under the guidance of Fisheries Minister Douglas Devananda. The harbour will provide facilities for about 300 boats, including multi-day trawlers.
And meanwhile, with the funding support from the United States Department of State Office to monitor and combat trafficking in persons, the International Organization for Migrating will implement a 3-year project to combat trafficking in persons in Sri Lanka. Officially launched in Colombo today, the project aims strengthening the national and local community-level capacities and scale up community-driven responses to effectively combat and respond in trafficking in persons. It contributes to the effective implementation of the National Strategic Plan to monitor and combat the human trafficking. The project will be implemented in close collaboration with the National and Human Trafficking Task Force headed by the Ministry of Defence.
And to my colleagues and friends in attendance,
in persons, impact.
Stay tuned for international news after this break.
ඩෙන්ගු රෝගයේදී උණ හිසරදය ඇඟපත වේදනාව ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. උණ අඩු කිරීමට පැරසිටමෝල් ඖෂධය පමණක් භාවිතා කළ යුතුයි. උණ දිගටම පැවතුණහොත් තුන්වන දිනේදී වෛද්‍යවරයෙකු හමු වී රුධිර පරීක්ෂාවක් කරගත යුතුයි.
Welcome back. On foreign news, the US economy has shrunk for the second quarter in a row, a milestone that in many countries would be considered an economic recession.
And that is not the case in the US, which uses additional data to make that call. But the contraction at the annual rate of 0.9 in the 3 months to July has drawn widespread attention as worries about the economic growth. Prices for groceries, petrol and other basic rising at the forces phase in 1981 as the US central bank raises borrowing costs quickly to try to cool the economy and ease price pressures, fearing the rising of a recession is coming if it has to be officially started already. Faced with the shrinking public confidence that President Joe Biden has tried to make the case that the economy remains sound is nothing to be, unemployment rate remains at a low 3.6% and hiring has remained strong.
Now, a giant screen fell and injured 2 dancers in front of horrified fans at a concert in Hong Kong by the hugely popular boy band Mirror. The video screen crushed one performer before toppling onto others, footage circulating online showed. The music concert was immediately halted and the band's manager asked crowds to calmly exit the arena. Hong Kong police confirmed to local press that 2 male dancers were hospitalized. A local hospital said one performer suffered neck injuries and was in serious condition in intensive care, while another was stable, the South China Morning Post reported.
Welcome back with sports update. And the Commonwealth Games has initiated the commence in a grand scale with Birmingham.
The inauguration ceremony yesterday was consisted with many items. Nobel Peace Prize recipient Malala Yousafzai also attended the inauguration ceremony. She received the Nobel Prize at the age of 17 for continuously raising her voice on the importance of women's education.
Teams from 72 countries and territories joined the people of Birmingham to celebrate friendship across borders. And now it is my honor to say, welcome to Birmingham.
Thereafter, sportsmen and women arrived at the place. Australia, which hosted the last Commonwealth Games, entered the ground first.
They are the most successful nation in the history of the Games. Here's Sri Lanka, the last of the 8 Asian nations competing. They do have severe financial and political problems at the moment, but they have still sent a team.
110 sportsmen and women are representing Sri Lanka at the Commonwealth Games. They will represent Sri Lanka at 14 events. Weightlifter Indika Disanayake and cricketer Chamari Athapattu carried Sri Lanka flag at the inauguration ceremony.
Men and women both got gold in the Rugby Sevens in 2018. Their flag bearers there. Tom Walsh, the defending champion in the men's shot put.
Botswana, Africa's oldest continuous democracy, arriving Birmingham on the back of their most successful games, winning the 4th most successful nation in Commonwealth Games history. Hosts in 2010, they won 101 medals.
Pakistan, the 2nd biggest population in the Commonwealth.
The Commonwealth Games are being held with the participation of more than 5,000 sports personalities from 72 countries.
What a welcome that is. Traditionally, the hosts arrive last at the athletes' parade. Jack Law, the diver, an Olympic gold medalist, the flag bearer, alongside Emily Campbell, the weightlifter.
The baton of the Commonwealth Games, which commenced from the Buckingham Palace on the 7th of October last year, was brought to Alexandra Ground yesterday for the inauguration ceremony after moving through 72 countries for 294 days.
Next to carry the baton is Taken, Kim Daybell. In A&E throughout the pandemic, he is running in the name and his way of giving back to. Receiving the baton from Galal is 10 times Commonwealth Games medal winner, including 4 gold. Please welcome gymnast Max Whitlock.
The skill and stability of a gymnast, very handy.
And finally, Max hands over the baton to the President of Commonwealth Games England.
Prince Charles presented the message of Queen Elizabeth at the inauguration ceremony. Prince Charles declared open the Commonwealth Games.
President of the Commonwealth Games Federation, who will open it to reveal the Queen's message.
On October the 7th last year, this specially created baton left Buckingham Palace to travel across the Commonwealth. Over the past 294 days, it has carried not only my message to you, but also the shared hopes and dreams of each nation and territory through which it has passed, as it made its way to Birmingham.
The Commonwealth Games are scheduled to be held until the 8th of August.
My warmest thanks go to all those who have worked so hard to ensure the success of this particularly special sporting event. And I wish each athlete and team every success. Your hard work and dedication, particularly in recent times, have been an inspiration to all of us. It now gives me the greatest pleasure to declare the 22nd Commonwealth Games open.
And with that, we conclude tonight's news digest. Tomorrow at the very same time, I'm Charita signing off with Dulanjali. Stay safe. Good night.
Good night.